So let's talk about the 5 big changes that will impact your marketing in the next 10 years. AI assistance, AI being artificial intelligence, will change how companies interact with consumers. And I think the key point here is acting as a middleman between the consumer and the brand or the company, and then therefore downplaying our use of search. So search will become less important because we're going to have machines doing our searching, shopping, purchasing for us. To demonstrate what that might feel like, I did a cardinal sin and recorded an Alexa conversation on an iPhone.
Amazon for running shoes is TFX 574.
Sorry, the question was, Alexa, I need new running shoes.
Amazon for running shoes is TFX 574 blocks _ men 9DM Tesla men's knit pattern sports running shoes. True to size. It's $28.98 before tax. If you'd like to hear details, just ask. Would you like to add it to your cart?
So that was pretty terrible. And what actually happened there was it just searched running shoes, like men's running or running shoes, and gave me a search result. It just like, it would have been equivalent to Google just like reading the #1 result. Had nothing to do with me. I believe this, well, I know this is because I can prove it to you in a second. Alexa, the Alexa of the future is going to sound like this. Alexa, I need new running shoes.
The New Balance shoes you ordered last time no longer available. There is a new version of the same specifications and size. I'd recommend a Great Navy. There are $109 should I order them.
Pretty different. And the key point there is that I didn't search for running shoes. I didn't Google anything. I asked Alexa to search for running shoes, and she not only searched for running shoes, she took my past purchase history and made a decision about what alternative type of shoe would make sense for me based on the shoe that I had purchased previously that was no longer available. I could have just said that. Then let's talk about these guys again, because this is super important. A few years ago, Google's CEO made the announcement that Google was transitioning to becoming an AI-first company. And what that meant was that they had, for many years, tested this like machine learning algorithm brain. Like they actually have this project called the Google Brain, where they have gone as far as that anyone ever has to replicate the processing power of the human brain, which is like trillions of synapses a second and all this stuff. But before they did that, they tested it on different applications like Google Translate. And within 24 hours of using machine learning to improve Google Translate, they made more progress in its accuracy than they did in like 12 years of doing it the old way. And so you can see that all of that stuff led Google to be like, yeah, this is our future. And if it's Google's future, it's realistically all of ours. And then when Google announced that, it set off an arms race for AI talent. So every major company in the country, according to this New York Times story, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Chinese Baidu, they're all trying to get all the AI talent they can. I've read articles saying that they will hire AI talent right out of school and pay them $1 million a year if they can get them. So much so, Google has, I just threw this in here because just an article that I saw last week. If you get admitted to the hospital in the testing that they did, they can predict with the 95% accuracy whether or not you're going to survive or die. And then if you're not going to die within the next 24 hours, they can predict when you will, if it's going to be within that visit. Yeah, crazy stuff. Just to illustrate one last point, I'd like you to listen. Well, let's look at this point first. So in this Harvard Business Review study, you can see they concluded that consumers will shift their allegiance from trusted brands to trusted AI assistants. And you think like, well, how would my assistant really be that comprehensive? Let me play this audio clip for you.
How can I help you? Hi, I'm calling to book a women's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd. Sure, give me 1 second. Sure, what time are you looking for around? At 12 p.m. We do not have a 12 p.m. available. The closest we have to that is a 1:15. Do you have anything between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.? Depending on what service she would like. What service is she looking for? Just a 1:15 woman's haircut for now. Okay, we have a 10.
All right, so the person calling was Google Assistant. So the future is now, folks, and that's rolling out this summer. So what happens in Google Assistant now is that you ask it to do something for you. Behind the scenes, it can actually go and have a legit conversation on your behalf, scheduling appointments, modifying calendars. And there's tons of examples. It's called Google Duplex if you want to look at it, because it is awesome to read into. They have all kinds of like complex examples where the Google machine, I guess, did not get confused when people threw curveballs at them and asked them weird stuff. And so you'll be able to just say something to your assistant on your phone, wait a few minutes, it goes and makes the calls, and then comes back with a recommendation. You can imagine that if that is the case, we will certainly allow our AI assistants to do a lot of our decision making for us. So what's the AI assistant landscape today, and what will it be tomorrow? Currently, really the landscape is a lot like the search engine landscape was, again, for the people who remember the late 90s and early 2000s. The Harvard Business Review article, the experts say that it's going to whittle down to a couple. You know, it's going to be a lot right now, but it's going to whittle down to a couple because nobody can have more than one. They're going to have one assistant. If I have to train two assistants every time I purchase something with that assistant, then the other assistant doesn't know that, and you're going to invest to make your assistant smart and know you. You're going to be super loyal. So you can imagine that they all want to win it because it's going to be extremely lucrative. But if you look at what Siri, I hate to say it because I'm an Apple fan, it's absolutely terrible in almost every aspect of it except controlling your phone. And then I just don't believe in Microsoft. But the two companies that have the most at stake is the way I would think about it. Where should we focus as marketers? I think it's the two that have the most at stake. Amazon, if they are not making the recommendations for you, then they are not controlling where you buy it, and they are screwed. So they cannot lose it. That's why they were the first to really popularize artificial intelligence assistants, and it's also why they have the massive market share that they do right now. I think they saw it, and they're like, we have to control that. Google, though, however, has far better technology, and by the way, they have a search engine. Like, the problem with Amazon is they have to do third-party search engines, and they don't do Google. And it does pretty well, but it's definitely not Google. And Google literally has the resources to be the right, like, super automated human brain that they're creating. As you just heard on the phone, like, they have the ability to have human conversations. So, preparing for the coming AI assistant era, I think we have to become an avid user of Google Assistant and Amazon Alexa. If you don't play with both of them, I would suggest that you get them. If you're responsible for your business decisions or your marketing decisions, or knowing how your customers might interact, because those are going to be, the first step is just knowing what they do and how to use them, and don't let it sneak up on you. The second thing is, and it's not here yet, but Adept will offer this service when it's ready and available. We're going to be all over it, which is the pay-for-preference model. So the experts are saying that the way that you will now influence, and by the way, this is why Google wants to win, because if I stop searching, their AdWords revenue goes away or goes down, which is the core way they make money. But if they can make money by paying for preference, like allowing people to pay to recommend the product as a known ad, then they're going to do that, experts say. And then we want to be the first. It's like if you could have got in early on AdWords, your clicks would have been really cheap, and you could have made hay for a few years. Like, that opportunity is coming again, and let's all try to take advantage of it. Same with SEO. Like, if we all would have got really good about SEO right when that mattered and started doing the things we should have been doing, we could be dominating now. Let's focus on making sure that we're able to, and again, I don't know how this is going to work yet, but when there is a way to make it work, how do we feed and mark up our data appropriately to make sure that the assistants know when our product is relevant for the right people? And that's going to be work. We'll have to do it. And then make personalization a key where possible. Everything in the future is going to be personalization based, right? So if you're not thinking personalization, then how are you going to support an assistant who's all about personalizing your product to the end user? So Danielle's going to talk a little bit about personalization.